Welcome to Pop Culture Retro, which was recently voted the 15th best podcast by the residents of the Golden Years Retirement Community in Boca Raton, Florida. Each show, we'll revisit some of your favorite pop culture memories with insider and outsider perspectives. Now, please help me welcome your hosts, Ike Eisenmann and Jonathan Rosen.
Hello, and welcome to another edition of Pop Culture Retro. I'm one of your hosts, Jonathan Rosen, along with the man who every Halloween turns the hose onto neighborhood children to tell them to get off his lawn, Ike Eisenmann. Ike, how are you today?
I'm good. No, I don't turn a hose on it. We put up caution tape in front of the front porch now so that we won't have anybody come up. Yeah, as of last year, we turned into, I don't know what the Halloween equivalent of bah humbug is, but we get so inundated where we are. And we had this persistent issue when we used to decorate. We don't decorate the front of our house anymore for Halloween because people would, and it's not like we had like particularly amazing decorations, but people would just come up on our front porch and sit in our rocking chairs and take pictures of themselves, you know, with our decorations. And it was just
annoyed the hell out of me.
It was just like nuts because, you know, of course we've got a video doorbell and it's going off all night long. And, you know, you don't want to confront people these days. So you just kind of got to let it go. So anyway.
Without naming the neighborhood, do people in your neighborhood know who you are?
Some people do. Yeah. Some people do. Yeah, I can't name it, but I have been told that people have come here, not specifically, but have come here and while they were here asked people if they knew me.
Really?
Yeah. And, you know, does Ike live here? And I have heard this from actually a couple of different people, and it's kind of interesting. So, you know, yeah.
That's amazing to me. I mean, fans are obsessive, but yeah. Today we're going to do, obviously we're going to do a Halloween one, and I always love the Halloween ones that we do, and trying not to be redundant, because last year we did our favorite scary moments. So this year we're going to do, which we'll cover the same territory though. We're going to do the movies that scared us as kids, right? Is that what we're saying? Do we decided?
Yeah. That's absolutely. And I had to I revisited mine for the first time since I was a kid. So that was a blast, which of course we'll get into in a bit. But
bring back the nightmares that I had as a kid.
Yeah.
But here's the funny thing, though. You've told me that, which I was thinking about this when we decided this topic, that horror movies never really got to you so much because you knew the inner workings of making them. So is that hold or no?
Yeah. I that's part of it. Yeah. I think also, and I've said this many times, you know, I've got eccentric tastes in movies, and there was just a point at which, as I grew up, and it could have been my exposure to how everything's done, you know, special effects. I know it's fake, you know, occasionally something gets me and, you know, I look away from the screen because it's so well done that it makes me uncomfortable. But generally speaking, I've always been so curious about effects and how they're done that, and then once I learned how they were done, I could kind of figure out what was going on. And, you know, these movies didn't scare me. And I don't know if it was just that or just me maturing, you know, as a human being and finding out that scary movies just aren't that scary to me, period. So then I just never went and saw them. So there's so many horror films, you know, that of course that crop up this time every year, and I realized that I haven't seen them. And I'm going to name one, which is really going to shock you because I'm planning on watching it next weekend, which is Carrie. I have never seen Carrie.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. But I thought, you know, it's high time, and you know, just to finally see certain movies.
Shocked at the movies that you've not seen.
That's what I just said. That I said you would be. I said you would be. Yeah, because I just don't care for horror movies, and I didn't really know. I didn't know Stephen King so much. I'd never read anything by him. I have always been a big fan of The Shining. That's my number one go-to movie every Halloween. Watch it, every year religiously. But that again is not really like, a Stephen King movie, because it's so loosely based on his book, as we all know.
More Kubrick.
Yeah, it's much more Kubrick than it is Stephen King. And but yeah, I said no, and oddly enough, when I asked my wife, Tia, if she'd be interested in seeing it, she said, yeah, I'll watch that. I've never seen it either. So she's actually interested in watching it, which amazed me. What we watched last night, just because I said I've never seen it and I want to see it, was Bram Stoker's Dracula. Coppola's version of that story, and I did not like it. I thought it was fascinating to watch. It was a very interesting movie, but I
didn't care for that one either.
Yeah. And Tia was so patient and so hilarious, because when the movie was over, she just turned to me and said, "What a great movie." I just started busting up laughing. I said, yeah, oh my God, I never thought it would ever end. I honestly thought the movie ran 2.5 hours, because it just kept going and going and going, and was like this relentless thing. And then I checked the running time; it was only 2 hours. So I was not, I didn't care for the treatment at all. But anyway, yeah, there's like a slew of movies I've never seen.
I just forgot. I just want to ask, because I do want to try to get some people from, but I don't remember the answer. Have you ever seen the ones that, like, that I had loved from the 80s, like Lost Boys or Fright Night? Have you ever seen those or no?
Lost Boys, yeah, because I worked on Lost Boys.
Oh, that's right. Yes, you said that.
So yes. I thought it was a really good movie. I liked that one a lot. But I love Joel Schumacher. He's an amazing director, and not many people know his name. He's done so many really, really great films, and I thought that was a very, very interesting one. But I've never seen Halloween. Even like last year, was it last year? I told you I finally watched Nightmare on Elm Street. I'd never seen it before. And it all started with going to see Friday the 13th. It's all the big deal. Everyone's talking about, how scary it is, and oh my gosh. And I went to see it, and I just thought it was the dumbest movie I had ever seen. And I thought, well, if this is how they're all going to be, I can't get with this. It's just not my thing. But when I was a kid, this stuff worked on me. But
you brought up Village of the Damned when we did the Forgotten Film.
Yeah.
Had that movie scared you?
It didn't scare me. Like, I'm going to talk about the one I saw that did scare me, that literally kept me from sleeping for a week. I thought Village of the Damned was just a really great. It was a scary movie in the sense of what it was about, but it wasn't like something that really made me like fearful in some way, because I consider it science fiction. And I just thought it was a really good science fiction movie, and such a fascinating thing. And of course, we've talked about this ad nauseum, but I mean, you've got children that are all powerful, and they're the villains. It was such an interesting thing, to see in terms of a story, and, very unusual. So I thought it was scary, but it didn't scare me. And that makes no sense. I don't know how to re-describe it, but
no, I'm always surprised that you could never, I guess I'm curious to other actors too. And if we have them on, we could ask that you were never able to like suspend disbelief enough to just watch the movie on its own, instead of like looking at the inner workings of how it's made.
Yeah, I can't, because it's just, I have been behind the scenes my whole life. My father's television show, I knew what cameras were, I knew he was on TV, and then he had a set, and he had, I could never even just sit in front of my own television and get lost in something. And I, that's where my curiosity goes when learning. I'm very fascinated in learning how things are done. And I think one of the longest running interests of mine has been animation, because of course I was a big Disney fan as a kid, and watching the animated movies and just thinking, my gosh, the idea that this amazing these amazing stories can be told, drawing these things one frame at a time, 24 times a second, was just like, it was beyond belief to me. So I spent a lot of time studying that as well as I grew up, because I'm just interested in how things are, how things are made, just period.
That's what you and I talked about, like loving the director's commentary always on these DVDs.
Yeah. I think they're incredible, and I think it's an incredibly valuable resource that
Agreed.
That people don't tap into as much these days as we used to. Because I almost listen to every single one I owned, just because I was fascinated. But yeah, I'm not. We probably already covered this in other commentary, but the scariest movie for me I've ever seen, that literally scared me and made me jump and audibly scream, was Jaws.
Yeah.
And I this has now become my cliched comment, but Spielberg has made me jump and scream twice in movies, and one was Jaws, and not in any moment that you would necessarily think, but maybe you would, the floating head under the fantail of the boat underwater when Richard Dreyfuss is checking,
Yes.
gets the shark's tooth in his hand. When that face came out, I quite literally jumped and went, "No, God!" And I started laughing. That instantaneous release, and I thought, God, see, this is why people want to watch scary movies, because this feels fantastic. but that was just, that was the surprise thing that that really worked well on me. And the other one is in Jurassic Park. There's a moment in Jurassic Park where the the kids are trying to get away, and that velociraptor goes up through the ceiling, and it just was so well executed. Even though you saw it coming, it really startled me, and I just loved it. So I do love that, and it kind of makes me angry, because I just can't. It just doesn't work, generally speaking.
Well, I'm curious. Some of the ones, Jaws is on my list too, that I had movies that scared me as a kid.
Yeah.
But it's funny. I was looking at the list, and some of the ones that really, I have some horror movies on here, but some of the ones that really scared me as a kid are not really horror movies. They're like more, they're kind of like sci-fi as well, and or not horror, and but they really did scare me, because I saw them probably when I shouldn't have.
Yeah.
when I was a kid. Like I had The Boys from Brazil, is because my dad took me to that, and I was 10 years old, and he took me to see it.
Wow.
And
wow.
I got really scared from that movie afterwards, and I was like way too young to have gone, but I was happy to go with my dad, and it scared me afterwards. I was like, I think I had nightmares from that.
Well, I mean, then horror films work on you? I mean, do they scare you?
Yeah,
they do. So you get that visceral thrill from
Well, things that we have. I'm looking at the list. I mean, some of the ones that did scare me, and this one I've talked about a lot. The same with Poltergeist scared the hell out of me, just because it's all the things in there. And I told you that stupid clown got to me, because I told you we had one in the house. We had like a paper mache clown that no matter, I've said it in the other episode, but I'm going to say it again here in case you haven't seen it. No matter what you did with that stupid paper mache clown that we had hanging in the house, we turned it, I adjusted the rope every which way, and it would always turn back into the room. No matter what happened, the rope would turn back and face you. And after seeing Poltergeist, that thing freaked me out, and I didn't want it up anymore. Just let's take this down. And that's where I hate clowns to this day because of that. And so it just got to me as well, but I was older for it. But Poltergeist did scare me. That was one of them.
Yeah.
And this movie I saw. Did you see Ghost Story? Fred Astaire?
I feel like I did, but I don't even remember it. When you said Fred Astaire, I went, oh wait, that's right. He was in something like that, but no, I don't remember it.
That also I saw, and I was, it wasn't so young. It was probably before a teenager, but that one also was like such a creepy movie to me. And just there was like, I think one scene where they bounce the ball and the ball just comes back from like the darkness or something. And it's just terrifying.
Well, always when that stuff is done well, it's amazing. There's so many moments in The Shining like that.
Yeah,
because I think where Kubrick so succeeded with that as a horror movie in so many different ways is it's all done cinematically. There's no special effects. It's just, I mean, other than all the blood coming out of the elevator, but there are terrifying moments in that movie that they chill you to the bone.
The only time you have a kid in peril.
Always. Oh yeah, always. Yeah. Absolutely. And then he wins out at the end, which is just, so great. But it's just the creepy things in that movie are the things that bring me back again and again and again and again. It's just so much creepy stuff. But see, for me, I'm like a half a generation ahead of you in terms of what I saw, and there were two movies that had huge, terrifying impact on me, and one was Invaders from Mars, which when you said all of a sudden I went, man, I didn't have that on my list for today, but the second you said science fiction, I went, oh well, yeah, that's the one. I mean, that's one of the ones that just did terrify me. And
well, we didn't limit this to horror movie. We just had the movies that scared us.
So. Yes. Oh yeah. No. I know. But I guess I just, in my own restrictive thinking, I went that's the direction I guess I went. But both of these are essentially science fiction movies. But the Invaders from Mars just freaked me out because this kid gets sucked into a hole in the sand and goes underground, and there's this whole alien race that's the Martians that are down there just waiting to kidnap all these people. And at the time I lived somewhere where behind our house and near our house was this huge sandy empty vacant lot that my brother and I used to play in, and I didn't want to go out there. I just said, that's it. I'm not going out there, because they're down there somewhere. And I was only 7 years old. So mind you, so when I saw both of these movies, I was 7 years old, which is, I still believe in Santa Claus. So when I see this stuff, it wasn't hard for me to suspend my disbelief, because it was like, oh geez, man, that's just crazy stuff. And the other one was The Fly, the original. Oh yeah,
The Fly. Yes, The Fly got to me as well.
The original one. Mm-hmm. And I was so afraid that I wouldn't go near our window. For some reason, I started seeing that fly creature outside our windows at night everywhere I turned. And our house had these floor to ceiling glass windows that looked out onto a pool. And so it was just like, no, oh my God, no, no, no. I have to get away from him. I have to get away from him. I can't do this. And that lasted for like, several nights before I finally calmed down. And I'd never seen the movie again. I never watched it again. And I wasn't necessarily avoiding it, but I just never thought about watching it again. And then I watched it this last weekend because I thought, I gotta watch this one again. Invaders from Mars I've seen several times. Because I just really love that movie.
I think I've only seen it once, actually.
Oh, it's just really a good 50s sci-fi horror movie. It's like luscious and brightly colored, and the creatures are just so disturbing, and the whole concept is creepy. And again, it's a kid in peril. It's the same kind of thing. But The Fly, and I remember I had filled my head with so much horror from that movie that doesn't exist in the movie. I mean, I rewrote the movie in my head completely.
Well,
that fly was terrorizing people. He was terrorizing people and went crazy and was cutting people up or eating them or something. I mean, I just went nuts in my head. So when I saw it again, I thought, God, this is a really, really, really good movie. This is just very interesting science fiction that goes wrong. And I think the thing that I remember that terrified me the most, and you're a master at this, we've talked about it with other stories, but how long it is before you actually see what's under the black cloth he's got draped over his head to hide his visage from his wife that he's trying to get to help him, and he's turned into what he is under there. He's something. There's something horrific, and then when it gets pulled off, it's just like it was just like, oh my God.
Did you like the remake or no?
No, not at all. Hated
it. Okay.
Yeah, we've had this discussion. I'm only a marginal John Carpenter fan. I don't, it's like he's got his hits for me and then the misses. Like I like The Thing, but I don't like The Fly. I thought it was gross for the sake of being gross, and
I hated the remake. Hated it. And
good. I'm glad to hear that. I thought maybe you were a fan of it, and I was soft.
No, I love The Thing. I do love The Thing. I think it's a great movie, but the Fly I thought was disgusting.
Yeah, it was just gross, and it's just like, but the original, again, what a great premise. It was just such an interesting premise, and the way they, not an uncommon storytelling method, but starting at the end and then the retelling that leads you up to whatever happened, because you already know at the beginning that he's dead. You already know that right away. It's how did he get there and how did it happen, and of course the last shot is just like almost as famous as the last, the end of Planet of the Apes. I mean, God, when I saw that, and that help me, oh good God, and they smash him with a rock. He smashes him with a rock. It's like, thank God he did that. But oh God, it's just so I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed watching it again, and it, those moments, like with the cloth and then the reveal and all of that, impacted me. But I realized that I remembered nothing about the movie other than those things.
I probably have false memories too, because I've not seen it since I was a kid. The original.
Yeah. Oh, it's good. It's just really good. And again, with my sort of nitpicky kind of taste in things, there's a lot of movies from the 50s that I've gone back to watch again and didn't enjoy them, as much as I did when I was much, much younger. And I was worried this was going to be one of them. I thought this was just going to be a ridiculous 50s horror movie, and that scared me because I was too young to know what was going on. now I'm just going to laugh at it. And I didn't. I really liked it. So
That's the good I do love 50s horror and sci-fi. I do love them because they always have that certain feel, all of them. So,
but and you know, the monster, you call them the universal monsters, the werewolf and Frankenstein and the Mummy. Those movies, man, they did scare me. But I saw them when I was really young because they were on television. You know, these were constantly on television, and so it was easily accessible. And you know, clearly they thought the movies were, because they were older, were appropriate for families. So there's no reason to not to put it on television, right? So all the kids can see it.
I saw that when I was a kid too, as well. They were always on,
yeah. But those you know, during that same period of time for me, I loved them. You know, these were movies I was dying to see, and thoroughly enjoyed them. But yes, they scared me. You know, it's just the idea of monsters. And you know, I had a pretty vivid, pardon me, my club soda. I had I still have a very vivid imagination, and I projected way too much, you know, into the dark closets of my house and under the bed,
absolutely.
And, you know, and like behind the trash can at night, you know, or whatever. It was just like, oh my God, not, you know.
I was terrified of the Slee Stacks on Land of the Lost, the TV show.
Well, other people have mentioned that.
Yes.
Yeah, they have. It's just that's just fascinating stuff.
One of the things that scared me, I'm curious about you. I saw the same thing, Psycho, when I was young. Did that scare you at all, Hitchcock thing? Because Psycho, I remember the same thing with people at the time talking about. I did as a kid too, looking out of the shower to see if anyone was there.
Yeah, I saw Psycho when I was older, so I didn't see it at a very impressionable age. But I did see The Birds. We went to go to see The Birds in the theater, and that freaked me out. Because I'm trying to think, I don't remember when it was released, but that I thought that was pretty terrifying. And it still is. I mean, it's still like this chilling, weird. You talk about a scary phenomenon that there was, within the context of the movie, there was literally no reason for it.
Right.
And that's the thing that fascinated me when I finally saw it again later on in life. And I think Tia and I watched it not all together too long ago. And I thought, man, I keep forgetting that there's no resolution to this story. No. There's no reason it happened. And it just happened.
Just ends.
And then ends. And it was like, that's creepier than anything.
Yeah.
Because it was just like there was no nuclear blast or, uranium pollution of the seeds on the ground or whatever they might be eating. It was just like happened for no reason. And I thought that was chilling. Absolutely chilling. So I have different kinds of things that scare me, and I keep trying to, I'm looking forward to watching Carrie to see what
Carrie's a good movie.
The overall story is, because I only have a sense of it. I don't really know. And so I look forward to, I keep thinking I keep planning on watching some of these movies that I've avoided, like I said, or just didn't have an interest in, just to see, okay, what are they really about? Because going back to Nightmare on Elm Street, what a great idea. I mean, I had no idea what a great idea it was. And so the horror, and the slasher horror that's mixed in with that concept worked. It really worked.
We've talked about this. I never liked the slasher films. I never got into Friday the 13th or Halloween because they're slasher films. I did like Nightmare on Elm Street because of Freddy, because it was a different kind of personality to me.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, agreed. Yeah, no, I'm definitely not a slasher movie person. That just, yeah, I don't understand the appeal, but it's massive and, ongoing. So there it is.
Well, I'll mention a couple others that did scare me, and you'll see a theme from this one because, like the boys of Brazil, I'll say this: my dad taught Holocaust studies. He took me with him a lot of times when he used to interview Holocaust survivors. So we went. So if there was something about Nazis on, anything book related, he would buy it as fiction. So those are the movies he tended to watch. We watched again Marathon Man when way before I should have.
Oh,
That scared the hell out of me.
yeah.
The dentist thing that got me on two prong, Nazi and then dentists.
Oh man. Yeah. Yeah. I think that was a movie I almost walked out of in the theater because I just thought I can't take this. I can't. I really can't. I can't take this.
Oh, it's horrible.
Yeah, it is. It's just, yeah, torture like that. It's just no thanks. But yeah, I know what you mean. Well, I mean, you're talking about, you know, something that was real. This wasn't, made up monsters. The Nazis were real and all of that stuff was
Well, it
real.
came.
And that's
I
just,
looked when it came out. I was 8 years old when it came out. I didn't see that one in the theater, but I did see it at some point when I was still very young. Boys from Brazil, I saw in the theater because I remember my dad actually taking me to that one.
yeah.
So, but here's another one that scared the hell out of me. Also, Magic with the dummy, and I hate dummies. Have you seen that one?
Yeah, I've seen it. I haven't seen it since it came out. And yeah, I mean, again, super creepy. I mean, yeah. I didn't remember being particularly impacted by it. I just thought it was a pretty good uh creepy movie. And that's Anthony Hopkins, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's always
He does
he's
creep
always
well.
he just has to stand there and it's
Right.
it's terrifying.
But again, that movie caused me to start looking at, any dolls or whatever that I had in my room to start afterwards.
Yeah. It's amazing how powerful that that stuff is over our youthful psyches. I mean, it's amazing. And to talk about scary things, were there any books you read as a child that scared you? Because I again, it's something about, the scary
Imagination.
Yeah, it just, I was reading Edgar Allan Poe at a pretty young age, and some of those stories were like were very chilling to me, but I don't remember being drawn to scary books in any way or reading anything that
I wasn't. I
scared me.
wasn't either. I didn't.
Yeah.
Didn't gravitate toward scary books until later, and even then, like I told to me, horror for me I need a comedic element in it.
Yeah.
I still even in the books that I read, so I was never drawn out to real just plain horror. Although I read several. My favorite Stephen King books are not his horror books. It's like the Shawshank Redemption one, or the which is the smaller books, or what's the like the one that Stand By Me was done.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that I really gravitate more. I love his writing, but I did read The Shining. I did read that one. I read that book. That book was a scary book, but and I get we've discussed this. I get why he didn't like the movie, but because based on his work. But I thought the movie far surpassed the book.
Yeah, we have, again, we've covered this before, but I read The Shining very late. I mean, I've seen The Shining since it came out in the theater, and I've owned it every chance I got, to whatever format it came out on, because I just loved it so much. And I finally read the book, and I said, this is not going to be fair, because I already know the history, and it's not going to be, I'm not going to be able to be objective about the book. But I did not like the book either. And yet I'm thinking, because I've not read very much Stephen King. As a matter of fact, I'm looking at my bookshelf, and I've got a hardcover of his that I bought. I don't know why. It's called Lissy's Story, Stephen King. I've never read it. It's like sitting up there. I bought it. It's like I've invested in it, so I should have sat down and read it, but I haven't. So I don't think I've really read any other Stephen King. But what I liked about The Shining, the novel, is his storytelling is just so dense, and he's really great with so many things. But I didn't find anything about it scary. I just didn't find anything about it scary at all. But so there's that.
Yeah. So same. Books. I never really grabbed to them. It was movies. It was just, I read a lot of sci-fi books too, and I remember reading certain ones with horror elements. But no, I never really sought those out. It was definitely the movies. So if you had to pick one that just really, the one that scared you the most,
I think it would be Invaders from Mars. And it's so funny that I didn't have, it's like I had it kind of blocked out as the one, but yeah, because that one just, it just did. And the whole Martian element, the whole science fiction part of it, really terrified me. It really terrified me. So that would have to be my pick. And The Fly is a close second, because it really was impactful on me. But I have to say, in terms of just sheer overall terror going through the whole movie, Invaders from Mars has to be my pick.
Has to be your pick. Yeah, I don't even know which one I would pick for them. I remember it might be Poltergeist, just because of all the stupid clown. But it's funny. My daughter Maya watched. My youngest, she watched Poltergeist because I was raving about it. Didn't faze her whatsoever.
Yeah,
just nothing. So,
yeah.
Like, you were scared of this?
So interesting. Yeah. So interesting.
But that's it. So, but anyway, like I think we covered it. But I want to wish everyone happy Halloween. Enjoy.
Yes.
Have fun, scary movies and moments, and let us know your favorites in the comments. And again, this has been Pop Culture Retro. I'm Jonathan Rosen with Ike Eisenmann, and please subscribe.
Thank you for listening to Pop Culture Retro, where no one was hurt during the making of this podcast.